Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful December the 10th, 2019. Grando Deportes, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, we're a little sad down here in the South because it's been cold and rainy all day, and since we couldn't find any college football on television, we're thinking that's tears from heaven, Charlton, that rain that's falling with the miserableness going on down here in the South.
Oh, yeah, it's not miserable in California. We could really use it. They've been praying for rain, and maybe you guys listen to Big C Sports, powered by Google and Alexa. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You'll hear from our sponsors. You're here. Welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing. And I really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. Big C Sports also can be found on Xfinity, Comcast Television, launching on Roku TV, Apple TV, Google TV, and a lot of other smart TVs all over the universe. You can also just figure out if you want to find out any app, Big C. And I've been living out here with this information technology society. People Google everything, and so I really appreciate the fact that we have acknowledgments of iHeartRadio being one of the top platforms in the universe. Really appreciate that. We want to make sure we take care of our veterans. We know it's holiday season. We know sometimes people say, didn't we just talk about that last week? 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 855 Big C. Why is that so important to you?
Well, Charlton, so many of our great military veterans go through issues every day. And as a society in America, we try not to think as a culture about everybody else's troubles. We want to stay focused on our own.
Yeah.
But what allows us to be focused on our own problem, Charlton, are the veterans who have paved the way for the freedom of this country over the decades. And now that so many veterans return from war, Charlton, and many of these veterans have PEDs, Charlton, and it's something that wasn't recognized before, Charlton,
yeah.
And a lot of these veterans have survived these horrific field injuries. And when they come back home, Charlton, and they don't have the support base of that in public, and they find it hard to adjust.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Charlton, we lose some 20 veterans a day to suicide in this country.
Wow.
One of the most horrific diseases that's unrecognized in America. And people say, well, you know, they need to find help. Well, the suicide prevention hotline number, Charlton, is one of those avenues for them to seek out help in.
Yeah.
But we have to do more as a country to understand the plight of our veterans, and not just the current veterans, Charlton, the past veterans from World War II, Vietnam, Korea, all the wars that have existed, Charlton, that we have surviving veterans in.
Yeah.
We need more than to just say thanks for your service, Charlton. We have to find a way to help them to stem this horrific disease called suicide. The suicide prevention hotline number is 1, but as a society, we have to care more.
Yeah, I really do appreciate that, Big C. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. Big C, you said, a couple of moons ago that Eli Manning would be back as a starter for the New York Giants, and that's when they replaced him with Jones. And last night, there were times when he actually looked pretty decent, and as the game wore on, then you realized why he had been benched in the first place. But I thought he gave them a chance to win that game, but the defense for the New York Giants is really bad. It's like they were watching Eli as opposed to studying what the Eagles were doing when they were on the sideline. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it did seem like the defense for the Giants got all excited when they saw Eli being productive.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was great for Eli to come into the game last night, Charlton. He had his family in attendance. And, you know, in the first half, he looked like the Eli Manning from 10 years ago.
He looked good.
It was great as a former professional to see an aging professional come out and be able to perform at that level.
Yep.
He was on time with his passes. He had the Eagles on heels. But I think time caught up with him during the game. Is that eventually the speed of the game caught up with him in the second half, and they figured out what he was doing. They had not seen Eli, all year long, Charlton. The Eagles had not.
Yeah.
But when they got a chance to see him, it was just like a rookie quarterback. You had kind of forgotten what this guy had done in the past because you realistically had no current tape on him.
Yeah.
And in the second half, they figured it out. The Eagles, though, looked like a team in disarray. I mean, it was embarrassing. This is a team that was in the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago.
That's right.
And this team doesn't even look like a shell of itself. It looks like it should not even qualify for the playoffs, and yet they're one game out of the playoffs. And Carson Wentz, here's a guy that everyone says is the best young quarterback in the NFL 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Eagles gave him a franchise contract, made him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL for a week until Jared Goff passed him up, Charlton.
Yep.
But the Eagles are not the same team without Nick Foles. When you think about how productive this team was at this time of the year over the last two seasons under the guidance of Nick Foles being the quarterback, Charlton, it seems like their offense really doesn't have any confidence in Carson Wentz. I know a lot of people are saying, well, he was without his receivers. This is a guy that's supposed to make any receiver that's in the game look good, Charlton.
Yeah.
And he struggled.
Yeah, especially when you get that kind of money. And the fact that Eli comes back, and just like his career, it was in overtime mode. And the Eagles' overtime game, the Giants forced an overtime game. They were up, I think, 17-3 at one point, and the Eagles came back and won it in overtime, 23-17. But what I'd like, for me personally, we always want to think that everything's going to last forever, and it doesn't. That the Manning family, when you look at Archie Manning, and then you got, of course, Peyton Manning and Eli Manning, and that whole, you could say they're one of the patriarchs of the NFL, at least at the quarterback position. I love the fact that they kept panning the camera up to his brother. Eli was there, and of course in uniform, but Peyton was there also up in the press box, in the family press box they'd given him. And I thought that was so important because how many people can see their brother playing an NFL football game, especially a game where people said that he was washed up? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it was a great bit of history that was being showed there during the game. I know they call the Mannings the first family of football, Charlton, and I like to think of it as the Matthews family when I think about the decades of participation in the NFL that way exceeds what the Mannings have done when you think about the Matthews brothers and cousins that have played in the NFL, and even fathers, Charlton. But, to have his brother, who everyone knows, Peyton, from all his commercial advertisements, I think he's the only former player that has more commercials than Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
It was great because Peyton has such an insight over the game, and he's able to see everything that's occurring from that perspective. But, as much of the focus of the game was on Peyton as it was on Eli, but it was great to see Eli perform at the level that he did for at least 30 minutes, Charlton. It was great for football and football historians and fanatics. The only sad part about this, Charlton, by them putting Eli Manning in the game, and I felt that the Eagles would win, now he drops under 500
That's right.
as an NFL quarterback, and he's going to be slated for the Hall of Fame as the third sub-500 quarterback in NFL history.
Isn't that something he had last night? His stats were not bad. Well, they were bad, but it's okay that he didn't have a great game. It was a great game in the first half. He was 15 of 30 for 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. But he also had a couple of passes dropped, and I wish they would have caught him. But, of course, it's rainy and it's slick and wet. But that was just an amazing thing because so many players, I think he's 38 years old. I might be wrong. I believe Brady's 42. We've seen 2 of these players play in the Super Bowl against each other, and Eli's younger than Brady, but at the same time, it's like they say Brady's too old to play. You hear that creeping in, but he's older than Eli, but he looks healthier than Eli. How did that happen, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, when you look at the modern athlete, Charlton, and how they take care of themselves, I mean, the training regimen, the diets that they go in, personal trainers, Charlton, far exceed what it did decades ago when I was fortunate enough to be a part of that fraternity. Working out now is a 7-day-a-week, 365-day thing, Charlton, not just during the season, but during the off-season. Everything is dedicated to the preservation of the body. You know, you look at the young quarterbacks in the NFL, and I remember when James Harrison was playing. James Harrison was spending some $800,000 a year to take care of his body to keep him in the NFL, Charlton.
Yeah.
So I know what quarterbacks are going to spend over time. Tom Brady spent millions of dollars to keep himself in the condition that he's been in for decades. So this is what athletes do to better themselves and elongate their career.
Yeah, and think about this stat, Big C. Carson Wentz, a young man by anybody's standards, he was 33 of 50, 325 yards, and he only threw, I won't say only, but they were equal in the touchdowns, threw 2 touchdowns, and the Eagles came on late. But just watching that game, in the first half, I would say that he outplayed Carson. It was later in the game when the Eagles kind of wore them down with long drives, but they wore down the Giants' defense. I thought the offense did okay, especially for a team that only had a couple of wins on the season. But now, this is what a lot of people said they wanted. The Eagles they're tied with the Dallas Cowboys for first place, Big C, in the NFC East. And it looks like no matter who gets in, the Cowboys or the Eagles, that you're going to have a loss at home for a team that has a first round, playoff game at home. I don't think either one of the teams are NFL playoff ready compared to teams like the Bears coming on strong. Of course, the Rams will play the Cowboys coming up. And then the Eagles got to play the Cowboys later in the year. And there's no guarantee that the Eagles will sweep the remaining 3 games, not based on how they played last night against a team with double wins. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, there's no guarantee for the Eagles or the Cowboys, Charlton, but as you look at that scenario, the NFL is always a one-game tournament when it gets down to the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's just one game and you're done. We've seen many times over the years that the favorite gets knocked out. Look at Kansas City last year against New England.
Yep.
When they had the opportunity to advance to the Super Bowl and everyone thought that the game was won. They did not advance.
Yep.
But this is the New Orleans Saints. We saw that with the Los Angeles Rams. Everyone thought that they would advance.
Yeah.
They didn't advance. They got knocked out by the Rams.
Yep.
So as we look at a one-game, one-and-done, the Dallas Cowboys, I believe a couple of years ago, had the best record in the NFC.
Yeah.
And were knocked out by the Green Bay Packers. So it's not always about having the best record going into the playoffs. Yes, it does help to be having some momentum getting there.
Yep.
But in a one-game tournament, Charlton, just like in college basketball, it's whoever's hot on that Sunday.
Yeah, it's great to see players that are considered washed up. If Al Davis was still around, I'm sure he'd put in a phone call to come play for the Raiders, but we know those days were in the past. In the NFL conference in the East, NFC East, Dallas Cowboys are tied with the Philadelphia Eagles, and they have losing records, and we're just 3 weeks to go. Have you ever seen that 2 teams with a losing record are in first place in any NFL division? Big C, your thoughts?
Yes, it has happened before, ironically, Charlton, that teams that had losing records in first place. This team, ironically, 8-8 has won a division in the NFL before.
Yeah.
So having a losing record in the NFL is not uncommon. Like I said, it comes down to getting hot at that one time. I mean, we look at teams that's going to have winning records every year that don't make the playoffs.
Yep, that's true.
And so we've seen wild card teams also win the Super Bowl on multiple occasions.
Yep, that's very true, Big C. So Washington, obviously not that good this year. They're 3-10 on the season, and the Giants, mopping it up now at 2-11 on the season. In the NFC South, New Orleans 10-3. Still a little bit of heartbreak or heartburn. Is it heartbreak or heartburn for them good old boys down in Nolens? Big C, which one would it be?
Well, Charlton, it was a fantastic game, and when you look at what the outcome of that game, yes, you can be disappointed, but the mitigating factor is that there was a lot of bad calls. And as you look at New Orleans' plight over the last 3 years, Charlton, and the calls that have been missed that have gone against them, you have to worry, is this team jinxed?
Yeah, it could be jinxed. Or maybe the referees are finding those paper bags that the fans used to wear back in the day, and they're wearing paper bags over there. We just can't tell. But they're still going to have a lot of football left in the season. Tampa Bay is 6-7. Carolina's 5-8. Atlanta is 4-9. In the North, Green Bay is 10-3. It seems like Green Bay is, I won't say, they're not dominant, and they struggled a little bit against Washington, but they're 10-3. Do you like them, or are they just holding on by the skin of their teeth? Because it seems to me the Vikings are a better team, but they're a game behind. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you're behind somebody, you're not always in first place when you look at it from that perspective.
Yep.
Green Bay has done enough to win at critical times. What they really want to have is a home game up at Lambeau.
Yeah.
When they're there and they have those ravenous fans at Lambeau and you get a snowstorm that comes through there, Charlton, it's always home field advantage for the Packers because they know how to play in those inclement weather.
Yeah, I like when you have Lambeau Field and the snow flakes. It's just amazing. Minnesota 9-4, the Bears looking like, I don't think the Bears got a chance at the playoffs. There are too many things that would have to happen. It's not going to happen. They're 7-6. Detroit is 3-9-1. In the West, they're always coming west for gold, and the 49ers have found some so far. 11-2 on the season. Seattle is 10-2, and we're looking at a monster game up in Seattle. Washington coming up between the 49ers and also the Seahawks. But the Rams have a little bit of something to say, too, because they also got to play the 49ers again. The Rams are 7-5. I don't think they're going to make the playoff, Big C, too much. This has already happened against them, and Arizona's 3-9-1. But I think the top three teams in the NFC West can compete in any division, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that's the reason why they have divisions in the NFL, Charlton, so that you don't stock everybody in one division and you give everybody an opportunity. But it's like in college football, it's like in pro football. You have to play the schedule that's given to you, and you have to go out and perform on game day. The Rams, this is the defending NFC champs. They may not make the playoffs this year, but that just goes to show the strength of the division and how it's done well this year.
And it's also that Super Bowl jinx that people used to talk about. The teams that lost the Super Bowl had a hard time getting back. In the AFC conference, we go out west, the Kansas City Chiefs. They've clinched their 9-4 on the season, and I think Patrick Mahomes has to get a little bit better. But if you can go in to New England and win without a healthy Patrick Mahomes, what does that say? That really bolsters the chances for the Chiefs when he gets healthier, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, he hasn't been healthy for the last month and a half, Charlton. He's had the ankle injury, he's had the knee injury, he has the hand injury. This is a guy that's going out giving his all every game, Charlton, but that's also a motivator for his teammates, that this guy will come out there and play hurt, and when he's healthy, he's the best quarterback in the NFL. And so I look at that's been a motivator for their defense because the Kansas City Chiefs defense right now is playing as well as they played in the last three seasons.
Yeah, Oakland Raiders, they're 6-7. If they were in the NFC East, they would be in first place with the Cowboys and the Eagles. What a statement. However, I want you to just give me your thoughts. They're 6-7 on the season, BC. They were blown out by Tennessee and just over the weekend in the Coliseum. Their defense has given up 366 points. Kansas City's given up 281. Denver's given up 261, and the Chargers have given up 251. So they've given up over 100 points more on defense than the Chargers and the Broncos, Big C. Your thoughts on the Raiders?
Well, this is a team that tried to go young on defense and develop a lot of young players who suffered injuries, season-ending injuries, Charlton, so they've been playing just by committee. There's been a lot of multiple lineups that the Raiders have used. Their quarterback has not been as sharp as what you expected in a leadership role, and everyone says, well, he doesn't have a core set of quality receivers. Well, that's the same thing New England is saying, and they got 10 victories.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Big C. In the NFL AFC North, the perennial thought is that the Baltimore Ravens would at least get to the AFC Finals. And it might be the New England Patriots somehow or the other waiting for them. I don't know. But the Ravens are doing everything right. They're 11-2. They're winning blowout games in the Coliseum in Los Angeles, and they're winning close games in the snow in New York against the Buffalo Bills. Big C, 11-2. They've given up 236 points. This team has scored 430 points. It's amazing how many points they've scored, and people don't think of them as a high-scoring team. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they've had some blowout games early in the year, but if you look at the last two games that they've played, Charlton, they've been quite pedestrian. The game against the San Francisco 49ers, where they were only able to muster 17 points, as well as the same amount against the Buffalo Bills this past weekend. I think people have kind of figured out what they do offensively, and you have to key on Lamar Jackson. I mean, you can let the other players beat you, but you cannot let him beat you. And there's always been some concern about the amount of running that he has done on the season. And right now he has a quad injury, so I don't know how effective he's going to be on Thursday night.
Isn't it amazing they're the only team in the NFL that has scored over 400 points, over 33 points more than the closest team behind them, and that would be the San Francisco 49ers that scored 397. And
yeah, that's when you're lucky enough to have 3 games where you score over 50 points in them, and they've done that in a couple of blowouts of bad teams.
Yep.
But you need those points, Charlton, in those close games.
Yeah, you sure do, Big C. The Pittsburgh Steelers, 8-5 on the season, and they're number 2 spot. Cleveland 6-7. Cleveland's not going to make the playoffs this year. I mean, there's outside chance, but that's just not going to do it. Not with 6 wins. Cleveland, you said that Cleveland would be a 500 team or less, and you said that before the season started, and that's very prescient. Cincinnati, at least they got 1 win, but Cleveland, your thoughts on them being a 500 team or less, and it looks like rolling the dice, Big C. You might be right. Your thoughts?
Well, this is a team without an identity. You have to have a running game, especially playing in that AFC North division, Charlton, with those stalwart defenses up there. You have a young, cocky quarterback that doesn't have NFL etiquette, which I think is the biggest, Achilles heels to that team.
Yeah.
Is that they have a quarterback who thinks he's bigger than the coach, who thinks he's bigger than the team. And as long as Baker Mayfield is there without an experienced NFL head coach,
yeah,
this team is destined to go nowhere. You have the best running back in football right now in Nick Chubb, and you don't know how to utilize him every game. He only had 15 carries the last game that they played. And even though they won the game, but he had 107 yards on the ground. Think about if he was touching the ball 25 times on the ground, Charlton, he would probably average 150 yards a game.
And they can think about that next year because they may have a different, coaching staff coming into next season. In the AFC South, you have Houston. And Houston's Jekyll and Hyde, don't really know who they are. They've laid an egg a couple of times. They laid an egg against Baltimore, and a lot of people have. And then they laid an egg against the Denver Broncos of all teams that were having a hard time winning games on the road and at home. But they're 8-5. They're tied for first place in the AFC South with the Tennessee Titans. Then, in my opinion, Tennessee's playing better football. If you look at the points that the defense has given up, Houston's given up 309. Tennessee's given up 255. Houston scored 317. Tennessee scored 318. So they're the stat leader, and they're tied for first place. I'm saying that Tennessee's a better team so far. Your thoughts?
Tennessee right now is the hottest team in that division. They've been 5-1 since Tannehill has taken over at quarterback, and everyone was saying, wow, you bench Marcus Mariota. He'll be trying to find a job up in Seattle probably next year as a backup to Russell Wilson as a quarterback. He won't be in Tennessee. But also you got that defensive end playing tailback, Derrick Henry, that nobody wants to tackle in the secondary. Everybody's making business decisions when they see him coming. I want to be playing next year?
Yeah.
Tennessee right now is a very aggressive football team. Tannehill is throwing the ball like a seasoned pro, which he should have done over those years in Miami. But I guess in having 3 different offensive coordinators, he never had a chance to develop. Mike Vrabel understands what his strong suits are, and he's been effective in Tennessee this year.
Isn't that amazing? Houston was in first place for some time, and people were knocking them or seeing that they could be, one of the top 2 seeds in the AFC. They may just be lucky enough to get a wild card unless things turn around. It's just amazing what Tennessee's done. As we go to Indianapolis, man, they've fallen on some hard times, 6-7 on the season. Jacksonville also on some hard times at 4-9 on the season. Not much hope for those programs. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, no, I mean, the division is based on where it is. It's going to come down between Houston and Tennessee is the hot team right now.
Yeah, they really are the hot team right now. When I look at the AFC East, we are so close to seeing the New England Patriots dethroned as the champion of the AFC East. They are 10-3 right now. Right now they're 10-3, Big C, but they've lost a couple of close games, and they have scored 338 points. They've only given up 168, so their defense is still legit. But I want to ask you, with Buffalo being 9-4, and they scored 274 points and given up 212, how confident are you that New England will hold off Buffalo? One team looks like they're playing championship football, and the other, we've seen it so much, but they're not the same. The Patriots, your thoughts?
Well, no team in the NFL is the same as they were last year when you just look across the board at records. I mean, look at where the San Francisco 49ers are right now. But the New England Patriots have the Cincinnati Bengals coming up this weekend. This should get them healthy and back on track. And all they have to do is beat the Cincinnati Bengals. They have one more hit-up matchup against the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
They win that game regardless of what else happens, Charlton. They win the division.
Yeah, it's nice to see them being challenged. I think that's only going to help them going forward. The Jets are 5-8. The Dolphins are 3-10. So the Dolphins will not finish with the worst record in the league. And there were people betting that they would do the inversion of the 72 Dolphins that went undefeated, and they thought the Dolphins wouldn't get a win. But this is a team that's been playing competitive football. I still thought they were robbed up in New York in broad daylight. You ever have anyone get robbed in New York in broad daylight? Dixie, your thoughts?
Well, that's a common scene in New York. I mean, the Dolphins have played hard all this year, and when people were talking about this team was tanking, it shows the pride and character of professional athletes, Charlton, that you go out and you're competitive every weekend. You have a coach in Brian Flores who wants to fight for you, who goes to the wall. Yep. And you saw that with his antics on the sideline after the egregious calls by the officials. And the Dolphins are a very competitive team this year. Yeah. And they're building for the future.
Yep, they are really building for the future. The Dolphins do well when they're in water, Big Z, and I think they're in good water for the Miami franchise, just giving them some time. We're going to come up on what's called the Big C timeout, also known as the Big C pause. We'll take the timeout, and when we come back, we're going to talk a lot more college football. Come back and join us. All right, we are back from the Big C timeout, also known as the Big C pause. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the number podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. The apps that I really love are by Google and Alexa. Just say Google or Alexa. Play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You'll hear Welcome to the Show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing, and I really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. You can also follow us on Spreaker.com and the launching on Roku TV, Apple TV, Fire TV, as well as other smart TVs all over the universe, and of course, Xfinity, Comcast Television. You can follow Big C Sports. I want to get into the world of Big C's top 10 before we get in college football. I know everybody has their own opinion, but I want to give out the team, and I want to get Big C's thoughts on Big C's NFL top 10 rankings. I'm going to start off number 10, the Tennessee Titans. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the Tennessee Titans right now are the hottest team in the NFL. Even though the Ravens have won 9 consecutive games, you look at the turnaround this team has gone with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. Yep. He took over a team that was 2-4, and now they're 7-5, and so they're on a run.
Yep, they are really a strong team. And again, they had a big win against Oakland, but Oakland has given up against everybody the last couple of seasons, or last couple of games, it seems. Number 9, the Buffalo Bills. And this is a team that no one thought would be here, at least based on last year's performance. But their defense is young, and their defense is fast and good. I want to get your thoughts of them being number 9, Big C.
Well, the Buffalo Bills have the third-ranked defense in the NFL. Josh Allen has developed. He's understood that he needs to utilize his legs as well as his arm, and the Buffalo Bills have responded, Charlton. And Rich Stadium is live and pumping up in the Northeast.
It really is a great place for a football game. The fans, it's still a small town atmosphere for an NFL city. Number 8, the Minnesota Vikings. Can you say Purple People Eaters Part 2, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the defense has been as good as advertised in Minnesota. They've had some inconsistencies with your cousin at quarterback, Charlton. He still has a problem when he's playing teams with winning records. Yeah. Dalvin Cook, as long as he's healthy, the Vikings have a chance.
Big C, discount, double check. Would you say the Green Bay Packers merit the number 7 ranking in Big C's NFL? Your thoughts?
Well, this is a team that needs to rely more on the run. Aaron Jones is the key to the offense, not Aaron Rodgers. They have a young receiving core that has developed. The defense has not been as consistent as they should be this year, but if they can get a playoff game up in Green Bay, Charlton, they're going to be a challenge and a hard out for anybody.
They will be a challenge. Number 5, that's also a challenge, the Kansas City Chiefs. Can Andy Reid get back to the promised land? Do they merit Big C's number 5 spot? Your thoughts?
Well, this is a team that's learned how to play defense over the last 3 weeks. They got Patrick Mahomes, who is slowly coming back. at quarterback. Their running game has been pretty decent. Their receiving core is trying to get all timed up again, Charlton, because they were out without some top receivers for several weeks. But if they can stay healthy, Charlton, and that offensive line, if it stays intact, they're going to go a long way in the playoffs.
Speaking of going a long way in the playoffs, you got to go way out to the Pacific Northwest. The great Seattle Seahawks. Pete Carroll, the oldest coach in the NFL, but he has the heart of a young man. The Seattle Seahawks, Houdini got captured last week in Los Angeles, Big C. He's going to try to break out of that cage the remainder of the year, Big C. Your thoughts?
This is a team that was without their running game in Los Angeles. Los Angeles was able to stop the running game, and many people don't realize how key that is to the Seahawks' success. Russell Wilson had an off game against the Rams, but I guess you can't win them all when you're on the road.
Can't win them all on the road, especially when your running game is not running with you, Big C. Number 3, the New Orleans Saints. Say it ain't so. More back calls, more things that went against them. They may have better luck playing away from New Orleans, Big C, but I still think they merit at least a number 3 spot. Big C, your thoughts?
This is a team, when you're playing at home, you think you would have a home field advantage, Charlton. They've gotten screwed often playing at home. The New Orleans Saints, though, this was one of those games of the ages. You think about the highest scoring regular season game in the NFL this year, Charlton. Just an outstanding performance. Drew Brees was hot with 5 touchdown passes. This defense, though, did not show up.
No, they didn't show up, Big C. Maybe they were slipping on some beads. I hear they throw a lot of beads around down in New Orleans. The top 2 teams, and people might have their opinion and say, wait a minute, how do you have it this order? The Baltimore Ravens, they scored a lot of points when the season began, but they've come back down to earth just a little bit, Big C, just a little bit. But do they merit Big C's number 2 ranking? Your thoughts?
They're the number 2 team in the league. In the last 2 games, Charlton, they have not scored a lot of points against the San Francisco 49ers and the Buffalo Bills. And like I said, Lamar Jackson's a little nicked up. The defense is still very solid. They've won both of those games, but you have to concern, has the offense hit the wall, and you got a lot of tape now on Lamar Jackson. Everybody says, how do you defend this guy? Because you're an intelligent defensive coordinator in the NFL. That's how you defend him.
Yeah, and it's hard to get one man on him. You got to game tackle him, Big C. The number 1 in Big C's thoughts, San Francisco 49ers. See, I told you like something about California. Maybe we could get the 49ers to play in the Pac-12, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, they might dominate that conference if they played in there, but the 49ers showed some moxie over this last weekend. After having a couple close game losses starting in the last couple of weeks, they showed that they could come out and win a close game. Jimmy Garoppolo has developed into a quarterback. They said, well, this guy, all we want him to do is manage the game. No, he's been winning the games that the 49ers need to win, and they're right now the top team in the NFL, my choice.
Yeah, they're a very good team, but there's a lot of football left, and it's just everything matters. Every week matters, Big C. We wish them all nothing but the best. I want to touch a little bit on the world of college football. College football, the 4 Heisman Trophy finalists, and I'll start giving you my thoughts, and you can just give your opinion. Number 4, Chase Young, defensive end, the Ohio State Buckeyes. No defensive player in the country has been more dominant than Young. He ranks number 1 in the country. In sacks, he has 16.5 sacks. That's number 4 in tackles for loss at 21. Despite seeing 2 games, because I guess he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, he's been a dominant force all year long, and to have a defensive player nominated for the Heisman Trophy, quite a prestigious honor, Charlton. Charles Woodson's the only defensive player to have ever won the award out of Michigan when he beat out Peyton Manning for that prestigious award. But I think Chase Young, just because of his media hype from a defensive perspective, that he gets that nod. I don't think that he's one of the top 4 candidates in the country. I think Ohio State would win a game without him, which they did twice.
Yeah.
So he cannot be, in my estimation, the most dominant player in college football.
Well, we're going to find out, because he'll be tested in the playoffs when they match up against a high-powered Clemson offense, Big C. Number 3, Justin Fields, quarterback, the Ohio State Buckeyes. He's thrived at Ryan Day's offense. He's thrown 40 touchdowns, just 1 interception, and he's a dynamic threat on the ground game, including 10 rushing touchdowns. It seems that every year Ohio State has this kind of athlete over the last decade. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you think about back-to-back seasons at Ohio State, that you've had the quarterback account for 50 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Dwayne Haskins did it last year through the air. this year when you had Justin Fields did it through the ground and in the air, Charlton. But just a dynamic transfer player from the University of Georgia. I think they might have wished that they had kept him around.
Yeah.
He went up to Ohio State. Charlton had a magnificent season, 13-0 as a record. And you think about him and Chase Young, two players from the same team being nominated for the Heisman, Charlton, you take votes away from each other.
Yeah, it's just every year a lot of good quarterbacks will go to the Buckeye State, and they'll do a good job in that offense for Ohio State. Number 2, Jalen Hurts, quarterback, Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley's offense takes a new wrinkle with each new quarterback. And the Oklahoma Sooners, they become one of the top rushing teams in the country. And they don't have the Marcus Duprees that they used to have back in the day, or the Billy Sands, Big C. But Hurts, of course, he's still a prolific passing statistics alongside with Burrow from LSU, Tua from Alabama, in the top 3 nationally for passer ratings and yards per attempt. But his 18 rushing touchdowns is second. This guy's amazing. He's won conference championships the last 3 years, twice with Alabama, and then now with Oklahoma. He's played in the Red River Shootout with Texas, and also the big game, the Iron Bowl game against Auburn. Has any other player done what this guy's done? Plus, he was not wanted by the great Nick Saban. Now Nick has to watch him in the college football playoffs. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you think about what Jalen Hurts has done at the University of Oklahoma, this is the 3rd consecutive year that the University of Oklahoma is sending a quarterback to New York for the Heisman nomination, Charlton. And for him to transfer and take his senior season out there when everyone said he should just continue to sit on the bench at Alabama and that he would not be able to pick up that Lincoln Riley offense. He started from day one.
Yeah.
And you see the dynamic threat that he's been out there in Norman, Charlton, passing for over 3,000 yards, rushing for over 1,100 yards. This quarterback has the same statistics that Kyler Murray had last year when he won the Heisman Trophy at Oklahoma.
Yeah, he's averaging 11.8 yards a attempt. That's best in the FBS. I want to get one more thought on Hurts because it's a tough business. I remember when Troy Aikman played at Oklahoma and he was injured against Miami, and then he got the chance to go out to UCLA. Terry Donahue and Barry Switzer had a good connection. So he went out to another team and still found success. Jamel Holloway came on and started for Oklahoma and took him down, and they won the Orange Bowl against Penn State. So this same thing that we've seen with Hurts, does it transfer to the NFL, in your opinion, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, anybody can transfer to the NFL, Charlton. It's about being in the right system. It's not about a quarterback per se. When we see quarterbacks change teams, look at Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
Ryan Tannehill, when he was at Texas A&M, he was a wide receiver. Many people don't remember that. Then he switched to playing quarterback his senior year. He became a number 1 draft pick with the Miami Dolphins.
Yep.
That organization did not have a system that fit his specific skills. Now that he's gone to Tennessee, his career has been rejuvenated, where everyone said he was washed up in Miami.
Yeah.
You have to go to the system. Look at Marcus Mariota. Has his skill set transitioned to the NFL? Jameis Winston, he will not be in Tampa next year. We see this every year with quarterbacks coming out of college.
Yep.
Everyone wants to make an assumption on what a quarterback will or will not be. Success is on the field, not by all us naysayers.
Yeah, I think he will be. If he has the right system, he'll be dominant in the NFL just as much as he is on the college level. He's already done it at Allen High School in Texas. I mean, he's out of the state of Texas, done it down there in Texas, did it for Alabama, Oklahoma. He just needs the right system, and he'll flourish in the NFL as well. Number 1, Joe Burrow, a good old boy from the Buckeye State, quarterback LSU, who finds himself the overwhelming favorite to win the Heisman Trophy, guiding LSU to a 13-0 record, and arguably the best conference in the country in the SEC. First SEC championship since 2011. Now, the argument starts for Burrow with the stats in the SEC. He set a single season passing record, 4,715 yards, 48 touchdowns, completed 78% of his passes. After it's all said and done, he'll have over 5,000 yards passing and over 50 touchdowns. Big C, your thoughts?
The greatest thing about the Heisman this year, Charleston, is that it shows futility.
Yeah.
You have 3 quarterbacks that are going to be making the trip to New York. All 3 of those quarterbacks had to make a trip, Charlton, from the colleges that recruited them to go somewhere else and play. And by being able to leave those colleges and go somewhere else and play, they've achieved the highest pinnacle in college football, a trip to New York for the Heisman ceremony.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow should be the hands-down favorite to win this award. You think of his accomplishments at LSU, Charlton, their first opportunity to win the SEC title since 2011. Not only that, to have the undefeated season at 13-0 and an opportunity to compete for the national championship.
Yeah.
He set all of those SEC records that have stood since Tim Couch played at Kentucky in 1999. But Joe Burrow has been unflappable at New Orleans, Charlton. He's been accepted as one of their own. People don't think of him being from Ohio. They think of him being from Louisiana.
Yeah, it's going to be called Winsiana if they keep winning the way they're winning, Big Z. So with all the talk about college football playoffs, do we need more teams? Do we not? It's a lot better when you would have them right in the coaches poll and the media poll and they would crown their national championships in theory only, but never on the field. So what would an 8-team college playoff football bracket look like in the large division? The 8-teamers would also dilute the pool, even though I would love to see 6 teams, my own opinion. I do love the fact that you brought up these conference championships. That really is a playoff. You got to play your way into the bowls, so that really by fiat is a expanded playoff system, Big C. So 8 brackets, that included 5 conferences. I'm sure the Pac-12 will love that, as well as the Big 12 will love it too. But think about it, 5 representatives and 2 at-large bids in quarterfinals and home stadiums, where the Pac-12 might consider that in the next couple of years anyway. And the environment would be absolutely spectacular, but the weather might be a little chilly in some locations. Big C, I want to bring up a couple of teams. I mean, do you think that makes any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, if you did it, what's going to happen is that you're going to eliminate and dilute the bowl scenario, Charlton. Which bowls do you have to give up, Charlton, for those teams to now go into the college playoffs? When you think about the New Year's Day festivities, Charlton, those teams are going to be those bowls are going to be devoid of some of the top teams in the country.
Yeah.
They're going to be watered down. Are the sponsors still going to be there overall for the money in college football? Because there's a build-up to these bowl games, and you have a month to prepare for these games, Charlton. We think about the college football season just ended a week or two ago, and the bowl season's going to start, but the granddaddy of them all on New Year's Day, Charlton, the 4 major bowl games are on that day. If all these teams are in the college football playoffs, none of these teams would have an opportunity to be in the bowl games. What would the attendance and the feel for those games be like at that point? There's been a history of college football.
Yeah, and based on weather, too, you don't want people playing in the snow, which oftentimes they'll do in Idaho in their Idaho bowl game. But think about it. This year, if we had that 8-team bracket, and it changes week to week because teams get knocked off, but an 8-team would look like this year. It would have produced number 17, Memphis, at number 1, LSU, number 5, Georgia, at number 4, Oklahoma, number 6, Oregon, at number 3, Clemson, and number 7, Baylor would be at number 2, Ohio State. That's not a bad bracket, Big C. That would be absolutely great for football. But as you said, at what point in time do we have these kids risking their health? I know they're in school for school, not for sports, but at some point in time, it's just too many games. Is too many games. Your thoughts on that bracket?
Well, that's what's going to happen, Charlton. You got all these teams now having to play these extra games. And we see players over the past couple of years skipping bowl games, Charlton, because they want to prepare themselves for the draft.
Yeah.
So who would all these playoff games benefit, Charlton? Are they going to benefit the players? When you sit there and talk about an 8-team bracket, like I said, you got a 10-team bracket because you have the Power 5 conference playoffs, Charlton, that are going to eliminate. You know, automatically 4 of the teams from those conference championships are going to make it in.
Yeah.
2 of them have no chance of making it in. It's on record. They just have to have a chance to play in their conference championship game.
Yep.
But as you got these rounds of playoffs, Charlton, that would extend to 3 rounds now. When these players have to play an extra 3 games, for what? A sweatsuit, a baseball cap, and a T-shirt?
Yep.
And the universities and everybody else are going to make hundreds of millions of dollars, Charlton?
Yeah.
And some of these players will end up getting hurt, which potentially will cost them their professional career. Who's the benefit of extending a college playoff series?
Yeah, that's the same good old boy network, and I'm understanding more and more as we talk about it. So I want to get on college football's top 5 statistical quarterbacks for 2019. And number 1 is Anthony Gordon, Washington State. Yay, Pac-12. He's 5,228 yards passing, 45 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, completes 72% of his passes. However, the team is only 6-5. They need a better running game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they need a better defense, Charlton. I recall that game where UCLA came back and hung a 50 on them in the second half, Charlton. They were sitting there watching their quarterback and forgot to watch the quarterback for UCLA as he was hanging a 50 spot on them in the second half.
Yeah, it's amazing how UCLA could not use that as a springboard and go forward. Big C, they went right back to who they were. Number 2, Joe Burrow, LSU, 4,715 yards, 48 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 78% of completions rate. Just pass it. The team is 13-0. Just pass it every down, Big C. He completes 3 out of 4 passes, Big C. Your thoughts?
It's been a miraculous season for Joe Burrow at LSU, Charlton. He's had all the intangibles since transferring from Ohio State, and he's set to become LSU's second Heisman Trophy winner, the first one since Billy Cannon did it in 1958.
Yep, it's amazing. You think about also number 3, Josh Love, San Jose State University, 3,923 yards, 22 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 61% completion rate. The team finished 5-7, but they did win the Valley Bowl, the Silicon Valley versus San Joaquin Valley over Fresno State. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, as you look at those quarterbacks on the West Coast, they're putting up big numbers, but they're not putting up big victories. San Jose State has been a team that's been in obscurity at a long time, but Josh Love has brought them back to semi-prominence.
Yeah, and in a city like, people say money talks and something else walks, Big C, but they're in the wealthiest part of the country in Silicon Valley. There's per capita, there's more billionaires in Silicon Valley than anywhere else in the United States. And that university is right in the heart of it. Even Santa Clara University and Stanford, too. So money doesn't always buy you everything. I just thought that's a great statement. Stanford and San Jose State and Santa Clara are all no more than about 20 miles apart from each other, Big C, but money hasn't shown up to produce a national championship football program. Number 4, Brock Purdy, Iowa State University, Notre Dame. Look out for this guy. 3,760 yards, 27 touchdowns, Big C. 9 interceptions, completes 66% of his passes. The Cyclones are only 7-5, but this good boy can throw the ball, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you think about Jalen Hurts playing in that same conference, Charlton, the Big 12.
Yep.
He's been invited to New York in the Heisman campaign, and Brock Purdy led the conference in passing yards. An outstanding quarterback at Iowa State, and I think he's going to be successful at the next level.
Yeah, so they just don't have the eyeball test, but his numbers are very, very solid. Number 5, Cole McDonald, Hawaii, 3,600, 42 yards, 29 touchdowns, only 14 interceptions, 64% completion rate. His team is 9-5, but I want to just look at his completion rate, 64%. But he's in a conference in the Mountain West where everybody knows you're going to pass, and he's still successful. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, everybody knows you're going to pass, and it rains sometime out there on the island, Charlton, and that ball gets a little slick. But I go back to the opening game of the season where they knocked off the University of Arizona, a Pac-12 team, Charlton. He got off to a lightning-fast start and kept up the pace all season long.
Yeah, they had it's out there on the island. Your legs running around in that sand is tough to run on the turf after you run on the beaches. Number 1, Chuba Hubbard. This kid should market himself as a high school. That sounds like an ice cream. Chuba Hubbard, Big C, Oklahoma State, that good boy. 390 attempts, 1,936 yards, 21 touchdowns. Ran for 6.3 yards per touch, Big C. His team is 8-4. If you average 6.3 yards per touch, you would think this kid would get the ball more, but that's a lot of rushes, 390, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, an outstanding season for the running back out there on the prairies of Oklahoma, Charlton. Chuba Hubbard's a Canadian kid, so I guess he had to run a long way to get down from Canada to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But an outstanding season nevertheless, leading the nation in rushing touchdowns and rushing yards. An outstanding season for that young running back.
Yeah, they wanted to run back up north to the CFL. I'm sure they would take his spikes and crown him. They would crown him and put him in gold, Big C. Number 2, Jonathan Taylor. This good old boy will have a chance to shine in the Rose Bowl. Wisconsin, 299 attempts, 1,909 yards, 21 touchdowns, 6.4 average. Team is 10-3. Man, they hate seeing Ohio State twice, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you think about Jonathan Taylor, Charlton. This kid is just a junior. He is the greatest running back in college football history. In 3 short years in college football, he has amassed over 6,000 yards rushing. No running back has ever did that. Herschel Walker came close, gaining 1,500 yards in 3 years at Georgia. But Jonathan Taylor has smashed that record, Charlton. He'll be the first college running back to amass over 7,500 yards if he stays in college and eclipse the 8,000-yard mark. But this is just a great running back at the University of Wisconsin.
Yeah, he's really a dynamic player, Big C. He doesn't look as fast as he is. Number 3, J.K. Dobbins, another one of those Big Ten running backs, 283 attempts, 1,829 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6.5 average, and they're 13-0. If there's any team that can knock off Clemson, it would be Ohio State. They give it to you on the ground and through the air, Big C. This should be a dynamic football game coming up. Your thoughts?
When you think about how dynamic the Ohio State players are, Charlton, you talked about Chase Young going to New York in the Heisman, voting as a defensive player. The quarterback, Justin Fields, the transfer from the University of Georgia, also attending the Heisman ceremony in New York. And J.K. Dobbins, Charlton, a true sophomore. And you think about the numbers that he put up, you think that would be good enough to lead a conference? It's only second in the Big Ten behind the kid there at Wisconsin, Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, it's only second. Not too bad for your second guy is right around 1,900 rushing, Big C. Number 4, you look at A.J. Dillon, Boston College, 313 attempts, 1,685 yards, 14 touchdowns, 5.3 yards per rush. And this team is only 6-6. They need a better passing game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about that. This is a disappointing season for, Dylan Charlton at Boston College. People thought that he would be at least one of the top 2 rushers in the country after coming back from that outstanding sophomore year. He got banged up a little bit, but nevertheless, he finished the nation's top 5 rushers.
Yeah, he's good. Big C, Jarrett Patterson, Buffalo, 280 attempts, 1,626 yards, 17 touchdowns, 5.8 average. His team is 7-5, and oftentimes he's running that in the snow. Big C, your thoughts?
And he's just a sophomore, so he has a couple more years to grow on the college football level, Charlton. This is where Khalil Mack came from, the University of Buffalo, so you know what type of athletes come out of that area.
Yeah, they have a lot of good athletes up there. And I want to finish out when we talk about college football, and it's sad that it's coming to an end because I just love it so much. It's the crowds, the atmosphere from West Coast to East Coast, from North to South. Everybody has their own tradition where people wear the Letterman jacket, and the fans will paint their face in different colors. And it's just, I love the festivities that go on with college football. But I want to finish out talking college football. Top 5 scoring offenses in college football. And when you think about the names that are going to come up, it's no wonder they're playing where they're playing. Number 1, Ohio State. They average 48.7 points a game. So I'm going to just give them 49 to round it out. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Ohio State led the nation in scoring, Charlton. I mean, when you think about where they were offensively and defensively, they had the top defense in the country and the best scoring offense in the country, Charlton. This is the reason why they hung around number 1 and number 2 all year long.
All year long, Big C. Number 2, Alabama, 48.3 points a game, and they did not have their starter in Tua the whole time. A couple of pick sixes has costed them a chance to compete for another national title. But 48.3 points is not bad for a young team, Big C. Your thoughts?
It's not. Alabama is always one of the top recruiting teams in the country. It never surprises you to see where they are offensively. Over the last 4 years, they've turned that offense around from just a running game, Charlton, to an electrifying passing offense.
They really have. Number 3, LSU, 47.8 points a game, so give them 48. We've seen them do it against the good teams and the bad teams. They're so consistent. Big C, your thoughts?
This is a team that seems to be able to score at will, Charlton. When the game seems to be, lackluster, all of a sudden LSU comes up and find ways to score. Joe Burrow, this is the reason why he's a leader in the Heisman race, Charlton, because of this offense that he's been able to put together.
Oh, yeah.
And he has 2 outstanding 1,000-yard receivers and a 1,000-yard running back.
And he won't give any of them a break. He's going to keep throwing it to him or handing it to him, Big C. Number 4, Clemson, 46.5 points a game, so rounded up at 47 points a game. Have not lost a game since 2017. If they can get past the Ohio State Buckeyes, that'll be 3 years in a row in the finals, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this is an offense that came along. They were sluggish early in the year, Charlton. They wasn't putting up the points But if you look at Clemson's last 7 games, Charlton, they've been averaging well over 50 points a game, and they've just been destroying their opponents.
They really have. Number 5, Jalen Hurts in the great Oklahoma Sooners, 43.2 points a game. And they're in a conference where you know they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. He's done it on the ground as well as through the air. Really impressed with Hurts. Also, Oklahoma, here they are again. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this has been a wide-open offense in the Big 12, and there's a reason why when you think of 4 of the 5 top scoring offenses in the country, Charlton, you look at the college football playoffs,
yep,
they are there. This is the reason why you don't have an expanded playoff, Charlton, because you've diluted down. Now you have the best of the best competing for the title.
Always the best of the best competing for the title. Speaking of the best, you can follow Big C Sports Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Spreaker.com. The apps that I really love are by Google and Alexa. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. If you're here, welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing. And I really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. Also, you can find us on Xfinity, Comcast Television, launching on Roku TV, Apple TV, Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. With all the talk, Big C, in the final few minutes of what college football is and NFL, we haven't talked much about athletes getting paid. I know that's going to be coming up through legislation very soon, and I really look forward to that. So with athletes being paid, Big C, you think they'll play better? Or I just think that's a good thing all around. Why has it taken so long for the dialogue even, Big C, your thoughts?
But how do you decide who gets what money, Charlton? You're going to tell me that 3rd string or 4th string offensive lineman is going to get as much as that 1st string offensive lineman? That's the problem that no one has thought about, Charlton. How do you dole out the money? What is the parity? Does a walk-on on the team, Charlton, does he get paid? And then what is the pay scale?
Yeah.
Do you pay players, Charlton, in a Power 5 conference more than you pay them in the non-Power 5 conferences? What will the Division I AA athletes get paid? What will the Division III athletes get paid? Yes, it's fine that we've talked about paying athletes legally above board.
Legally,
and they're talking about passing legislation. The real legislation, Charlton, is how much do you pay each individual athlete? Will there be pay equity? Will the female athletes get paid equal to the male athletes? When you talk about college basketball, especially out there in the Pac-12 where the most dominant teams are the women basketball teams, will they be paid more than the men teams?
Yeah.
So when you talk about will it make them play better? No, it won't make them play better, Charlton, because you're going out there trying to get to the next level where you can get a real paycheck.
Yeah.
The money that you will be subsidized in college will be nice. But the problem is going to come from, Charlton, when you're sitting there and the guy next to you is getting 5 to 6 times more money than you, just like in pro ball, will you be at the point where you say, I'm not going to put out as much as he is and I'm a better player?
Well, it may come down to a little bit of sharing the revenue and also having them make money based on their own images. Looks like a pro athlete. It's great conversation. It's better than saying no. A lot of people just say no. Big C will close out NBA basketball tonight. Big C's schedule is a small schedule. Washington at Charlotte, Denver at Philadelphia, Atlanta's Miami, and then the New York Knicks at Portland Trail Blazers. A lot of good things happening in the sports universe. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always say, Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, we're 2 weeks away from Christmas, and the NBA ratings are down 25%. Just like me and many other people, once the football season is over, realistically, and Christmas is rolled around, we'll start watching the NBA.
Well, we can start watching the NBA, but you can always listen to Big C Sports every Monday through Friday at 5 to 6 p.m. worldwide. As Big C Sports is the #1 sportscast in the universe. Also, Big C can be followed every Monday through Friday at 5 to 6 p.m. worldwide. I want to also tell you there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you We appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.